Delighted right now to welcome the Commanding General of Task Force Marne, Rock of the Marne, Major General Tony Cucolo. How you doing?
Rock of the Marne, Sonny. How you doing?
Doing great, man. It's late at night there. How are things unfolded, especially with 7 March coming up? I imagine you're pretty busy.
Oh, we are. We're meeting ourselves coming and going. We are extremely busy getting ready for the elections. And the way we get ready for the elections, of course, is we apply pressure, so to speak, to those violent extremist networks. So a lot of operations with our Iraqi partners trying to take Al-Qaeda off the battlefield, some organizations, other organizations off the battlefield, and work very hard with the security forces to reduce any voter intimidation. You know, campaigning started just a few days ago, the election campaigning season, and democracy and this type of election is new to a lot of communities here, and so learning how to campaign politely, if you will, is part of what's going on right now, is that learning. So making sure the security forces remain apolitical, as we do back home, is a critical part of this. So we are very, very busy.
Well, that's exactly one of the things I wanted to ask you about, is how it is going in terms of the operation of the campaign. I know there are those who might threaten and intimidate individuals with physical harm, but as I'm reading and doing a little bit of background study on the thing, there's just all kind of tactics that are feared for possible deployment there as people try to influence the election beforehand.
Right. We've got the full spectrum of it here, and you know, and I'm not a politician and never run a campaign, but clearly there's. Let me give you an example. The night the campaign season opened in Kirkuk City, there was a lot of inappropriate behavior. People firing guns in the air. One party would move to another party's neighborhood, block the roads off, conduct themselves in an inappropriate manner, sort of an in-your-face attitude, tearing down others' posters, putting stickers on everyone's cars, things like that. And that some folks weren't ready for that, so they felt retaliation was in order. And then maybe, in a couple of isolated incidents, police either supported one side or wanted to stay out of it and didn't do anything about it. And the end result was the chief of police in Kirkuk, the political party bosses got together with our provincial reconstruction team leader. He's a gentleman from the State Department doing a wonderful job here as a teammate with us, and military present, but without speaking parts, if you will, had a meeting, and the governor of Kirkuk said, okay, look, everybody fall in and behave correctly. Here's the election law. These are the things you're supposed to be doing. Police, help me out. And everyone signed on to it. Speaking of signing on to it, they're actually so serious about this that in Kirkuk, they're considering signing a code of election conduct. All the party bosses signing a code of conduct on how to behave for the rest of the campaign. So we'll see how that goes. But that's just an example of a microcosm of what's going on in some other places. Some overt intimidation that is quickly reported and tamped down, and some backroom stuff that probably still goes on in other elections and other democracies in the world.
It sounds like it with some of the signs and stickers and so forth, and that illustration certainly helps to answer the question. It sort of sets the scene for us. We get a visual picture of what's going on. One other thing, we get to see, we've heard you talk about it, and we actually have some of the video of training that is ongoing, separate and apart from the elections, but just the ongoing training of Iraqi forces. It's interesting to see the extent to which these Iraqi soldiers are being trained in military operations for search and seizure, any number of things that they're being trained in.
Right, and if I'm not sure which B-roll you might be looking at. I've got one incredible training event that's going on right now, and actually training into implementation is something we're calling the Combined Security Force. It's to reduce Kurd-Arab tensions and build confidence in the population of those areas that are on the Kurd-Arab fault line. As you know, we have the Kurdish regional government in the northeastern part of the country, curving from the Syrian border along the Turkish border and the Iranian border. It encompasses all or parts of 6 provinces, pardon me, 6 of my 7 provinces that I'm responsible for. And a year ago, there was a chance the Iraqi army and the Kurdish regional government's militia called the Peshmerga, a year ago there was a chance they would come to blows. There would be a civil war as one would move troops in one area and someone else would move troops to confront them. What we've done right now is we've answered the call of President Barzani of the KRG and Prime Minister Maliki of the government of Iraq, and they asked General Odierno, we need a combined we need a security mechanism and architecture to put into place that will give diplomats, politicians time to figure out what the boundary might be, if there is a boundary, or where certain provinces end and others begin, and just resolve the tension along this line. General Odierno came up with ideas, had a group of 3 stars, my boss, Lieutenant General Jacoby, and a Peshmerga and KRG 3-star, an Iraqi Army Ground Force Commander 3-star. They got together and they worked out the details, hammered out the details, which now we are implementing. And there are a series of checkpoints, 26 checkpoints, where if you drove up to it along key routes between these 2 entities along that Kurd-Arab fault line, and if you drove up to the checkpoint, you'd see an Iraqi soldier, a U.S. soldier, an Iraqi policeman, and a Peshmerga soldier all standing together controlling that particular checkpoint. Now, before they could do that, they had to go to training. And what you're seeing in that film is something that is absolutely historic. Again, elements of 2 armed forces that a year ago might have gone to civil war, now living together in a training camp, getting up every morning and training together as one unit. And it's just been amazing. It's been amazing to watch. And Sonny, you'd appreciate it as a former service member and all my service members listening and veterans listening. Here they are. Maybe the outside world thinks these 2 folks, these 2 parties would never get together, and they're intense. And one Sunday they came to the U.S. company commander, because we're supervising this operation. They came to the U.S. company commander, and the Peshmerga guy and the Iraqi army guy said, you know what, you have a Peshmerga tent and you have an Iraqi army tent. We'd like to live together in one tent. Matter of fact, we'd like not have Iraqi army platoons and Kurdish platoons. We'd like to have mixed platoons with you. And so now, when you see them standing in formation, there'll be maybe a U.S. squad leader and then Iraqi and Peshmerga fire team members. And it's a complete different mix of uniforms, and we've worked it out. Language is not a barrier, arm and hand signals. We've trained everything from medical evacuation procedures to obviously all the combat drills, react to, direct fire, indirect fire, clear a room, taught the Iraqi Constitution, rule of law. Anyway, it's a sight to behold to see this unit out there together, and it's really building some confidence among the local population who, maybe when they saw a Peshmerga uniform, would be frightened on one side of the line, or an Iraqi army uniform, they'd be frightened on the other side of the line. And now they see them coming together on patrol in their neighborhoods, and they're getting used to seeing that. And I hope they're feeling it's going to be all right, because I see nothing but a positive trend on that line right now.